there. Okay, state of the Minnesota's climate. Okay, now this is, oh yeah, let's see, I need one of those things. Let's see. This is a lot of Kenny Blumenfeld. Who knows Kenny Blumenfeld? Everybody, right? Yes. He's, I always try to see if he'll do some more storm chasing someday, you know, because he's an ex-storm chaser, or at least he says he's an ex-storm chaser. Not sure I believe him, because once a storm chaser, what? Always a storm chaser, one way or another. But he's pretending, yes. He might be back. So anyway, a lot of this is things that he had put together. So I'll do my best to try to emulate Kenny. And forgive me if I'm surprised at some of the slides, because I looked at them, but you know, I don't know them in my head anymore. So I'm like, oh, that's a nice slide, actually. So the purpose today, as Kenny would say, we're summarizing last year. And look specifically at winter trends, because that's really thinking of climate change. That's the biggest impact that we're seeing in the state right now. And we don't have enough time to discuss everything here. We'd like to, but we don't. See, there's the crowd. There's you guys, you know, looking for more, right? So, but if anybody's got any questions, you know, raise your hand. I'll answer them if I can. If not, I'll just say Kenny will get back to you. So this is one of the Kenny special slides. This is there's a lot here to look at. But the bottom line is 2024, Minnesota was the warmest on record. It was a little wet, with some droughts sandwiched in between, all combined in recent years. Let's see this. Let's see. There's red. Okay. And I'm red-green colorblind, so I can't actually see it. But I'm assuming there's a red dot on the screen there. I see it here, but I can't see it there. So I'll just kind of, maybe I'll walk over and just point to it. Anyway, the last 20 years or so, really been on that side of the graph. So that graph basically was temperature and precipitation. And we don't have a lot of years that are cool and dry. We have a lot of years that are warm and wet. And the wettest year on record is 2019 there. The warmest was last year. We beat some high flyers. 1998 was a long-standing warm year, and then beat by 2012. And 2024 is the warmest year on record. And you know, most of the dots have been in that upper right-hand corner of history. That's for Minnesota as a whole. So additional information, 2024. First year since 2019, we had above normal statewide precip. We've been basically in a drought 2020 through 2023. Not that the drought's gone, and I'll talk about that a little bit, but 2019 was the wettest year on record, so we didn't have anything like that level, but it was definitely above normal. So most of the 2020 so far have been dry, with, I would say, many major droughts. So we have these episodes of drought, we get bailed out, go back into drought again, back and forth. So, and what Kenny likes to say, it's the wettest dry period on record. So if you look back at previous droughts, like the 87 drought, especially the 1930s, this drought is really not that bad compared to the big droughts of the past. Annual precipitation, you can kind of see basic trends. Even though we've had some dry years, our basic trend has been going up, and there's been some big dry years in the past. I'll try to use this. I wish I could see it. I'm trying to point to 1976 there. It was one of the big dry years, and then 1910 is the other one. So we haven't seen anything even close to a 1910 or a 1976. It was a very interesting time both those years. 1976 was an agricultural disaster. 1910 similarly, such like that. So we haven't seen really dry years. We're not used to it. So even though we've seen some dry-ish years last few years, nothing compared to the distant past. So this is looking at the whole globe temperatures, daily surface temperatures, and this is through late January 2025. So we've had record global temperatures ongoing since that really started in July 2023 and continued more or less through 2024. I want to say June in the state was below normal here, but in general, we're still running very, very warm. And even sea surface temperature is high too. You can see where we're sitting there right now, going through January. Record global temperatures also started July 2023 and continuing through most of 2024 and well above normal warmth there too. And this is a slide that we keep updating. What we keep updating is increasing the numbers on this one. So total temperature change since 1895, really your eye is drawn to the middle one and in the northern part of Minnesota, where total temperature change since 1895, December through February, basically the winter. Winter minimums have increased the most 7.7 degrees. So it's got a lot of bearing on what happens in this state. Who still plugs in their car anymore? Not many, at least down here we don't, maybe up north they do. But you still see like plug-ins, like at the North St. Paul Post Office, they still have the outlets for the postal vehicles to be plugged in. So you still sometimes see that. Don't have as much warmth during the summer though, and summer maximums actually have gone down just a little bit in southern Minnesota. So here's a typical night at International Falls. It's now 11 degrees warmer than it used to be. So continue upward trend over time. International Falls. We just don't get as cold as we used to. We had a big Arctic outbreak in January this year. We got down to, oh my goodness, 19 below in the Twin Cities. You know, and back in the 1980s, even in the 90s, it would have been no big deal, really, 19 below zero. It's hard to get down to minus 20 around here these days and up north. Oh, question?
That's over the last 76 years.
76 years at International Falls? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. They don't have an older record, unfortunately. I wish they did. We have other stations with longer records than International Falls. I think there's, Milan. That's our favorite one. Milan is a station in Chippewa County, same family, same instrumentation, for over 100 years. And there's no heat island in Milan. Trust me, I've been there. They used to even have a cafe at one time. I don't even know if that's still there anymore. So very much a rural setting and seeing the same kind of pattern, a continue increase over time. This is average of the 15 coldest nights in the winter. And then the coldest night of the winter. And you can see Milan used to get down to minus 30 below was no problem. Minus 35 below, you know, and even once in a while, minus 40. And who's ever been at minus 40? Okay, so you know what it's like. It's a different level, isn't it?
As long as there's no wind, it's fine.
As long as it's not wind, it's fine. You don't have to drive your car. It's great. But yes, it's, I remember minus 40. It's been a while. Doesn't say cloud for that. So anyway, Milan is a great station to see what's going on over time. Seasonal snowfall is being impacted too. It's actually, we're getting some increases in seasonal snowfall. Bigger storms, we had some big storms. Used to be, you know, I talk about how cold it used to be. You know, getting a big snowstorm used to be a big deal. A foot of snow was a big deal. You know, now it seems to be we're getting a few more of those across the state. Duluth is no exception. There is a big difference though, is that, you know, we're getting more snowfalls, but we're not keeping the snow on the ground. So Kenny threw this one together. It shows different cities and how the average seasonal heavy snow day is 4 inches is a pretty good snowfall. And with temperature too. So our temperature is going up, but we're also getting more heavy snows. So I mean, for like 2 winters ago, we had about 90 inches of snow in the Twin Cities. Jeff loved that winter. I'm not sure I loved the winter, but it was interesting at its moments. Also, what's happening in the winter, more rain is becoming common in the winter too. You know, it's funny, we'd have a lot worse drought right now had it not been for the rain we got in November and December in the state. We didn't get the snow as much, but we got some rain. It was just enough to keep the droughts from getting too much worse. So over time, we're seeing more winter rain. And then Duluth too. You know, even where it's colder, the number of annual winter rain days are going up too. You know, in the 1970s, more snow than rain, but last 20 years or so, it keeps going up. Keeps getting more rain. I think they'd rather have the snow up there. So what also is going on, even though precipitation's going up, snow is going up, the snow depth is going down. And that's the biggest change. And that's really affecting our temperature. If we don't have a deep snow cover, it makes a big difference. In order to effectively cut off the air from the ground, you need 4 inches of snow, and to really start impacting the temperature, the deeper the snow, the more the impact. So the average snow depth in inches has been going down. Even in Duluth, you can see last winter was pretty dreadful up in Duluth. It's not like they didn't always have a lot of snow on the ground, but over time there's a lot more of these happening than was up another level back when this is when Duluth moved to the airport. Downtown, you can't really compare because they get less snow downtown. So winter temperatures, because there's less snow on the ground, have also increased about 5.4 degrees. So this is the wintertime temperatures in Duluth. So less snow on the ground, increasing temperatures. We're seeing that here in the Twin Cities. Once we lost our measly 1 inch of snow on the ground, it was off to the races for the temperature. Big difference when you have a white surface and a dark surface. So what about a really snowy place? This is Wolf Ridge, which is up on the North Shore, but away from the lake, so up the hill, right by Cook and Lake County border there. And what we looked at, and Kenny looked at Wolf Ridge, in that if you have no snow on the ground, your average temperature is 26 degrees. Well, look what happens. Even if you have 1 inch of snow on the ground, it's a big difference. And then if you have more snow, at least 5 inches of snow, you're 10 degrees colder. And then colder than that, 20, 30 inches of snow on the ground, even colder still. So we had our 19 below zero, right, in the Twin Cities with 1 inch of snow on the ground. How cold would it have been if we had a foot of snow on the ground? I guarantee you we would have had our 20 below zero, no problem. 1 inch of snow is just enough to cool us off a bit more, but it's not compared to like a foot of snow. So overall, what we're seeing is snow cover is declining. This is Duluth, and you can see that decade by decade, we just don't get the deep snows anymore. It's harder to get that foot of snow on the ground. And foot of snow is important for winter recreation. You have to have at least a foot of snow on the ground for snowmobiling to really snowmobile. You can ski in 4 inches of snow or something like that, but if you really want to play in the snow, to groom a trail, you need a foot of snow on the ground. So what we're seeing too, this is fairly new, is that extreme humidity is beginning to increase. This is dew points for the Twin Cities, 1903 to 2024. There's not a lot of stations that have this long of a record. We had to key punch these from the old log books going back to 1903, and over time, you see a little bit of a trend moving up, and what this really has an impact is overnight temperatures. I don't know if you're like me, but if it gets below 70 degrees in the summer, I open the windows. If it doesn't get below 70 degrees at night, I keep the windows closed, and then it gets too warm. So that's one of the big changes we've seen. We don't have the cool nights anymore like we used to, so we're getting more humid over time. And so with the dew points, we're getting higher heat index values too. So with the dew points slightly creeping up, that affects the heat index too. So we're getting a little bit more of a bump up there too. Not much of a temperature change, 0.2 degrees Fahrenheit, but if you add in the dew point changes, we get more a higher heat index over time too.